Hi, I'm Will Washington, Executive Director of Armour. We're so excited for another summer. If you've been on our website at all, you've probably noticed that our summer theme is We Will. So I just want to briefly explain to you, one, where do we get that from? And two, what you can expect us to teach your kids this summer through that theme. So there's really two things that helped us arrive at that summer theme. The first one is this: when we talked to kids and really kind of figured out where they were at, one of the things that we noticed was that either they had never really studied a lot of Old Testament stories, they really didn't have much of a knowledge of stories in the Old Testament, or if they did have knowledge of stories in the Old Testament, they had no idea how it actually applied to their life. So they might know some of the well-known stories, but had no clue, how is this actually relevant for me today in my life? And the second thing is this: growing up in the Highland Park community, this is something that I've really learned. There's a huge difference between religion and a moralistic approach to Christianity and the gospel. This is what I mean by that. Religion and moralism is do this, don't do this. Be a good kid, not a bad kid. The problem is that doesn't have the power to transform the heart over time. Only the gospel of Jesus Christ did. The gospel is not do this, don't do this. The gospel meets us right where we are, and it's the good news that Jesus did something for us that we can never do for ourselves. Because of his work on the cross, we're justified before God, and we're now adopted into his family. So not only are we forgiven and given his righteousness, he delights in us as he would delight in his own child. So that's what we get in the gospel, and the more we understand that good news, that transforms our hearts and causes us to actually want to follow God. So with those two things in mind, what we wanted to do this summer was take a gospel-centered approach that focuses on who God is and what he did on the cross, and combine that with looking at Old Testament stories. So what we're going to do this summer is we're going to look at some Old Testament stories. Some of them your kids may know, some of them they probably never heard of. And what we're going to do every single week is focus on who God is in those stories, an attribute of God, so we can focus on his character and his nature. So an example of that would be week 1, we're going to look at Daniel and the lion's den. And a lot of times when that story is taught, it's focused on Daniel. You want to be strong like Daniel. But really, if you read it, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is the God of that story, and how great and awesome that God is, and that he is mighty to save anybody, whatever situation they're in. So what we want to do is focus on God in that story. So the we will come into play like this: because God is strong, we will trust him. So who God is affects us directly in our day-to-day life, and we're going to try to make that applicable for them where they're at. And the last thing we're going to do every single week, which is, this is our heart at Armour Up, is we're going to take it to the cross every single week. So we believe these Old Testament stories all have a road to Jesus Christ in them. So we're going to talk about how the first week that you may not be in a lion's den, but Jesus Christ came to save you from something much greater than a lion's den. That's our hope, is that they would just be surrounded this summer with the character and nature of God and his grace in the gospel. So we can't wait for an awesome summer. We're so excited about it. We're praying about it. We're getting ready right now. Please let us know in the meantime if we can answer any questions or serve you in any way.